This week, let's talk about how to travel long-term around your individual comfort level. Welcome to How to Travel Full-Time, the podcast that helps you turn your dream of full-time travel into a realistic and sustainable lifestyle. I'm your host, certified professional coach, TEDx speaker, and New York Times featured travel lifestyle strategist, Heather Markel. I'm excited to get you motivated and going with tips, real-life stories, and strategies from someone who's been living the lifestyle since 2018. Let's jump in. This episode is for those of you who are interested in longer term or full-time travel, but wondering whether you'd actually be comfortable doing it. Because I think some people hear the term like full-time travel or traveling longer term, and they're immediately starting to picture staying in hostels, taking those overnight buses, having huge backpacks, doing those cheap flights with 6 layovers, losing your luggage, and living on instant ramen noodles. And hey, if that's your thing, great. But for a lot of people, especially people in midlife, who have spent years building careers and stable lives, that version of travel just sounds exhausting. And honestly, one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to make while I traveled full-time was to realize you're allowed to travel in a way that feels good to you. So today I want to talk about designing a travel lifestyle around your actual comfort level, your energy, your priorities, and your budget, instead of some imaginary version of what quote unquote real travelers do. And honestly, this is one of the reasons that I created the Travel Abundance Accelerator. Because once people realize that long-term travel does not have to mean constantly being uncomfortable or exhausted, the conversation can shift from, can I do this? To, how do I create a version of this lifestyle that actually feels good for me? I think a lot of people just assume that traveling long-term automatically means you have to sacrifice comfort. Like, if I want to be able to afford this, I have to rough it. And sometimes that fear alone can stop some people from even exploring the possibility of traveling longer term, because thoughts like this go through their head, right? Maybe I'm too old for this. I don't want to sleep in hostels. I need good sleep. I need downtime. I can't and have no interest in living out of a backpack. And guess what? The good news is you don't have to, because there are so many different ways to travel long term. One of the things that I realized pretty early on is that the way I traveled in my 20s was not the way I wanted to travel in my 40s and 50s. Now, when I first started traveling long term and, I was really focused on, budget first, right? I just could not get enough of uncomfortable overnight bus seats, small accommodations that sometimes had lizards and other critters, and I would basically do anything to save money. I did stay in some hostels, but I quickly realized that a shared hostel room is no longer for me. Nope. When I started traveling uncomfortably, and that's what I used that uncomfortable travel to justify lower costs. But as I got older and was still traveling, I realized if I'm going to keep traveling like this, I want to be more comfortable. And it did take me a bit of a while for me to accept this, because I did know that, of course, these choices are going to have direct implications on my budget. Happily for me, I learned there are a lot of ways to travel more luxuriously without breaking my bank account. And I share all of them in my Travel Abundance Accelerator. Yes, shameless plug. I think one of the most important parts of designing long-term travel is deciding what matters most to you, right? Because that's different for all of us, and it's really important that you recognize that. For some people, good accommodations are the most important thing. Maybe having access to comfort, a great bed, and food on the spot, that might matter the most. For other people, you might want those direct flights or traveling business class instead of economy class. Still others might prioritize eating great food or eating out a lot versus cooking. Other people want to make sure they're traveling at a slower pace. And then maybe you prioritize having private space, like I talked about, not staying in a shared hostel room. Maybe you want access to a gym. Maybe what's most important to you is staying somewhere that's really close to the center of town so you can walk there without needing any transportation. Maybe you just want a bathtub, right? And none of this makes you bad at travel. It just makes you someone designing a lifestyle that actually fits you. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I talk about inside the Travel Abundance Accelerator. So it's not just about how to afford long-term travel, but it's how to create a lifestyle that actually feels sustainable, enjoyable, right? Because we want it to be fun and aligned with who you are now. Because the goal is not just to travel longer, it's to travel in a way that still feels good if you want to keep on doing it 6 months later or more. Now, here's a really important point. Comfort does not always mean more expensive, because comfort can be about luxury, but it can also mean many other things. Sometimes comfort itself is being able to stay longer in one place, being able to, allow yourself to stay a whole week or two or a month instead of a few days. I mentioned in my prior episodes for this month about my experience in Argentina, where I went from moving every 3 days to staying in one room for 2 whole weeks, and how that just felt completely decadent at the time. You know what else can be really luxurious feeling is having a closet and drawers to unpack into. I kid you not, once you've been doing this for a while, it really does feel really cool not to actually live out of your suitcase or backpack, if that is what you're doing, but to put your clothes away and be able to fold them up into something else. Cooking at home or having a wonderful kitchen where you can make your favorite meals might be a way that you feel luxury. Perhaps the ability to take fewer flights or travel by train or plane instead of by bus or car. Maybe you just want more space. So when you stay somewhere, you want it to be a certain size. And maybe you want to choose destinations that feel easier to navigate, whatever that means for you. So sometimes spending smarter actually creates a much more comfortable experience than trying to constantly maximize your budget. And I think a lot of midlife travelers aren't necessarily looking for hardcore adventure. They're looking for breathing room. They want a different rhythm, maybe a softer life for a while. They want the time to reconnect with themselves outside the pressure and structure they've been living inside of. And travel can absolutely be that, right? You're not just escaping or running away, it's just space. And over the next little while, you'll be hearing me talking more about that and making some shifts around this, so stay tuned. Because I think this conversation is much bigger than how do I travel forever? Sometimes it's about wondering, how do I create enough space to feel like myself again? Now, if you've been wondering what kind of long-term travel would actually feel comfortable and sustainable for you, the Travel Abundance Accelerator was designed for exactly that conversation. You'll find the details to it in the show notes. And before I go, I wanted to let you know that I am about to take a little break myself from the podcast while I travel through July. And honestly, and actually not all of July, but into earlier mid-July. And honestly, It feels pretty fitting, right? After everything we've been talking about lately, taking that space, slowing down, reconnecting with yourself. And while I'm away, I'm also going to be working on something new that I'm really excited to share with you when I get back. Over the past few months, I've realized these conversations are becoming about something bigger than just full-time travel. So when I get back, I'm going to share more about that direction along with a new webinar that I'm putting together. If you want to be the first to hear about the webinar and everything that's coming next, you can join the waitlist in the show notes. I'm really excited about where this is heading. Until then, thank you for being here with me for these conversations. Enjoy whatever, if it's hot as heck where you are, I hope you have some good air conditioning. If it's cooler, well, I hope you have a good coat. And either way, I can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. If you're ready to start living the full-time travel lifestyle, or you're already doing it and you want to make it last longer, I'd like to invite you to the Full-Time Travel Academy. It's where I offer training and coaching that helps you get clear on how to start, how to afford, and how to sustain a full-time travel lifestyle. Learn more at www.fulltimetravelacademy.com. Have a beautiful week.